marginal improvement as a...
I wouldn't say we've made an improvement because this year a lot of people, reporting incidents of irregularity. I would want to salute all the people, the whistleblowers especially, who, informed us about irregularities at some areas. And indeed, when we sent our monitors, that we found out that it was true. And so maybe because we receive a lot more reports, you would notice that there seemed to be a high number of, teachers who were involved in the irregularity. When it comes to the students, it is only when we have put together our reports from the various centers that we can tell whether we've had a reduction or whether we've had an increase in the number of irregularities.
Right. Mr. Kapi, thank you so much for your time this evening. We're grateful that you made time to speak with us. John Kapi is the head of public relations for the West Africa Examination Council.
Right, Martin, we stay a while on the BEC because as the final clock began to tick for many of the pupils who ended the exams today, those at Drobweja DA Basic School sat down to solve the mysteries of the digital world using only paper, pencil and imagination. In a village where the sun setting marks the end of all productive light, the information and communications technology paper felt less like a test of skill and more like a work of science fiction. Bono East correspondent Belinda Tete reports.
For candidates like Abigail Table and Eunice Awuni, questions about rebooting or navigating a desktop computer required a leap of faith. In Drobweja, where the only windows are those cut into the sides of the classroom to let in the fading afternoon light, students were forced to visualize the start menu from memory.
It was not easy.
What were some of the questions that you struggled with?
They were asking about projectors. Me too, I have ever seen a projector before.
Were there some questions you couldn't answer?
Yes.
What were some of the questions?
They say we should mention the part of computers and we should write something about generation of computers.
As the students handed in their final papers, their spirits remained inextinguished.
I cite ICT, but I hope I can perform in other subjects.
Okay, so there's hope for the other subjects.
Yes. What I have to say is that we need computers and lights in our community to aid the one that are coming after us.
Meanwhile, head teacher Abubakar Sadiq remains optimistic about their results.
When they came out, I comforted them. They told me the practical aspect, they find it very difficult to solve it, but the theory somehow they manage with it. So I'm praying that with a little theory they were able to solve together with the objectives, they will get a pass marks.
The test did not end without nature's intrusion. Heavy downpours nearly disrupted the exams. As the papers were collected, the rains began to subside. Now the village waits not just for results, but for a day when classrooms will finally have access to electricity. Belinda Tete, TV3 News, Drobweja, Bono East Region.
Let's shift our attention to some other stories now. The Rent Control Department has put on hold any plans by hostel managers to increase fees while it assesses existing charges. The department has described the charges for hostel facilities in some universities as exploitative, explaining that the current pricing structure imposes a huge financial burden on students and their guardians. George Queening and Daryl Agbozo visited some universities and have come through with this report.
Hostel fees are rising faster than inflation, signaling a shortage of hostel facilities. The approved hostel rate for the 2025-2026 academic year at the University of Ghana put a 4-in-a-room facility at Old Pent at 6,792 cedis each, and that is en suite. For one person in a room without air conditioning but en suite, the fee is 24,238 cedis. For two persons sharing a room without air conditioning, each person will pay 14,363 cedis. The Rent Control Department finds this troubling and has asked managers to put all increments on hold with immediate effect.
So if your intention is to increase, hold on. Now, we are going to do an assessment and apply the law. It means whatever you are charging today, stay put. You assess and let you know how much is right. Then you can go by that amount that we are going to assess with you. Until we are done with the assessment across board, they cannot increase. And if you realize that, we have to also get them to reverse it after the assessment. If it is 20,000 and it is 5,000, you go by the 5,000.
Some students see these fees as a total rip-off.
They should consider we are students, and this country, some of our parents are not well to do and they are struggling to put us here in school. So they should reconsider what they are doing and bring the prices down like the way other schools are doing.
When you check the prices and the system, you see that most of them are just doing it in their benefits, not to help us, but they are just raping us to benefit themselves.
This is a private hostel located at Okponglo right here in Accra. And this is what 5,500 for 4 persons sharing this very room will get you. And so this is the space. It has a washroom, a kitchen, 4 bunk beds, and so 4 persons here all be paying some 22,000 cedis to the manager of this very hostel. Karina and Rihanna each paying 5,500 cedis for a 4-in-a-room facility for 3 months.
If governments can help by talking to these stakeholders so that they can absorb and reduce price, because mind you, it's not only a rich man's child that is coming to a hostel. You have a poor man's son or daughter struggling to get hostel. Some even paying installments. We are begging the government to help add the utility bills to the rent.
However, managers say they are operating at a loss instead.
Rent control, only government in Nkasa. Na kache government say, school hono what's this more hostel?
Rent control should rather ensure the government builds more hostels around these universities. The legislation will not help.
Government want to me say, na mo want to me for sa mashallah no emma obi o want the property say on hold on.
For financial analyst and chief executive officer of Daylight Finance, Joe Jackson, regulating rent ceilings and fixed rent prices will only worsen the problem.
Rent control can try that. And for those who have invested, there's nothing much. Rent control has some amount of power. But I tell you, rent control will be making the problem worse. Because those private developers who are thinking of getting into hostels will say, go to, I don't want to get into this rent control argument. So it's okay. Let me take my money elsewhere.
The Rent Control Department is currently undertaking an inspection exercise aimed at assessing hostel pricing structures, investigating arbitrary rent increases, and ensuring operators comply with the Rent Act 1963 at 220. George Quenin, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's do some more stories now on News 360. The Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council has given traders selling along the N1 highway at La Paz a 5-day ultimatum to vacate the streets or face a decongestion exercise. Well, the traders have vowed not to relocate unless they are allowed to operate under the newly constructed La Paz footbridge.
Come to night market here at La Paz in Accra. Unfortunately, come Monday, the Regional Coordinating Council says is going to decongest this place and every single trader will be affected.
Over the years, concerns have been raised about the safety of pedestrians who are now forced to compete for space with petty traders and moving vehicles due to the takeover of pavements by hawkers. City authorities have on several occasions attempted to remove the traders from the area, but the efforts have not been successful. Although the night market along the highway has become attractive and continues to boost the traders' economic activities, many describe it as a death trap on the N1 highway. But the traders say they have operated by the roadside for years and do not understand why they should now be forced to vacate the area.
This is the place that we used to sell, and they said they are coming to do overpass for us. So we should move so that they will do the overpass. But I think they have done with the overpass. Instead of them to let us go back to where we sell, they have crossed it, and we don't know the reason why they have crossed it. We don't have anywhere to go. This is the place we pay our children's school fees, our rent, feeding, everything. This is where we do it. So if they say they are sacking us, we don't have anywhere to go. So what we are pleading is if they can remove this thing from here so that we all go back. Then we leave the pavement and the road.
If they are listening and they could do that, I think it will be of a good help. It will release the blocking of the street or the hawkers from coming to the street, because as the place is there, the place is empty, and the hawkers are more coming to the street. But if the place is open and the hawkers are there, I don't think they will be coming to the street and be fighting with pedestrians on the foot.
Greater Accra Regional Minister Linda Akweli Uklu, however, explained it to the traders why they must relocate from the roadside. Okankwe North Municipal Chief Executive assured that the decongestion exercise will commence on Monday.
That is Monday to Friday, they will not sell on the pavement. But Saturday and Sunday will give them the opportunity to sell.
When you get to Accra Metro, you see where the Accra Mayor has demarcated. He calls it behind the red line. Are you considering something like that here?
Yes, I'm speaking with the assemblyman who has also initiated such a move, Honorable Neo 2 Latte. So we will also be implementing the red line demarcation and they will not cross it.
Let's turn our attention to politics now. The main opposition, the New Patriotic Party, the NPP's flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has made a bold statement of party unity, appointing all four of his former rivals in the January 2026 presidential primary as co-chairmen of the party's newly established policy committees. The appointments form part of a structured, data-driven policy committee framework that Dr. Bawumia is establishing within the party, designed to generate credible, evidence-based alternative policy recommendations across critical sectors of Ghana's economy and governance. And in a moment, I'll walk you through the key individuals. Some you know, some you may not, but they have been given various positions to lead the party ahead of the 2028 major election. So this is the policy committee, which is more like a broader umbrella committee. It is chaired by the Honorable Kojo Opon Kroma. Then the secretary is Dr. Kwesi Nyami Befi. Honorable Oseiche Mensah Bonsu, former majority leader, is also a member of the policy committee. Then you have the Honorable Kweku Kwarteng as a member as well. Still under the policy committee, you have the Honorable Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, former finance minister, Honorable Dr. Gideon Boakun, a member, and then the Honorable Dr. Kabiru Tia Mahama also as a member. And when you look at the finance and economy committee, which is under the policy committee, you have Honorable Amin Adam as the co-chair. We have Dr. Stephen Opata as co-chair, Dr. Frank Bano as spokesperson for the committee, Issa Fuseini as spokesperson, and then Hamia Hunu as the secretary to the finance and economy committee. Under health, you have Dr. Nana Yao, a free member of parliament. He's the co-chair. Dr. Anthony Nsiasari, also a co-chair. Spokesperson for the health committee is Dr. Ezekiel Ejekumobing. Then you have Dr. Ikuya Amuakun and Kev as spokesperson. Then Kelvin Oforijima as the secretary to the health subcommittee, you might want to call it. When you look at energy, you have George Kwame Abuaje as the co-chair. He will be chairing that committee with Kojon Safwa Poku. Then the spokesperson for this committee is Andrew Ejapa Mesa. We have Collins Adomako Mensah, also a spokesperson. Then Ama Frimpoma will be the secretary to the committee.
Let's focus on health now. The Ghana Health Service, GHS, has assured the public that enhanced surveillance measures have been activated to prevent any possible outbreak of Hantavirus in the country. This is after reported infections on a cruise ship currently docked at Cape Verde. The Ghana Health Service emphasized that no case of Hantavirus has been recorded in Ghana so far. The service says the WHO and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have assessed the situation and concluded that the overall global public health risk remains low, although countries have been advised to strengthen surveillance and preparedness systems. As part of precautionary measures, the service says it has intensified surveillance at ports of entry, including airports and seaports, increased monitoring of unusual respiratory illnesses across health facilities, and strengthened laboratory preparedness and rapid response systems. Public education campaigns on rodent control and environmental sanitation are also being intensified, while collaboration with international disease surveillance networks has been enhanced for timely information sharing.
Still watching News 360 on TV3. Stay with us. Menu Afo will bring us the latest in the world of business.
I love President Charcoal. Why?
When there are so many other charcoal toothpaste.
That's both charcoal and lemon.
Oh, does it?
Yes, look right here.
Yes. Pepsodent Charcoal has 2 of nature's powerful whitening ingredients with the power of
Afol. Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Isia, has raised concerns regarding government's recently announced climate investment targets, labeling them as potentially ceremonial and unrealistic.
Insia's critique follows a statement by the Minister of State for Climate Change and Sustainability, Baba Isifu Seidu, who revealed on Wednesday that Ghana requires $22.6 billion, approximately 220 billion cedis over the next decade, to meet its climate action goals.
$22 billion to fight climate change in the next 10 years is quite outrageous. And I think that some of these investment projections are just to meet ceremonial requirements by international organizations and not actually to be effectively implemented in Ghana. As a country, we have what we call the nationally determined contributions, which was expected to span between 2020 and 2030, with investment projections ranging from $9 billion to $15 billion. As we speak, we may be able to mobilize at least a tenth of these particular investment plans.
SEMC calls on government to move beyond ceremonial climate projections and develop realistic bankable projects to attract the capital necessary for its green transition.
It's very specific, very concise, very project-related intervention targeted at specific areas of the economy, which will come out with a very less budget or investment projections, and that will likely attract development partners to support or local partners to support than such huge investment plans that may not see the light of day.
Away from that, government procurement of 300 diesel-powered buses to boost public transport has drawn sharp criticism from climate advocates who say the decision contradicts Ghana's own green transition commitments. The first 100 of the buses arrived in April, with further deliveries expected in August and November, as part of efforts to ease congestion and improve access to reliable transport in major cities, including Accra.
The government procured 300 diesel buses to tackle growing pressure on the country's public transport network. The first 100 arrived in April, with further deliveries expected in August and November. The buses were meant to ease chronic congestion and long waiting times in cities like Accra, where commuters have long struggled to access reliable transport. But the relief was short-lived. When it emerged the buses ran on internal combustion engines, the initial public welcome quickly gave way to concern among environmentalists and climate watchers. Ghana is a signatory to the Paris Agreement and has committed under its nationally determined conditions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 64 million tons by 2030, with transport identified as one of the key sectors where cleaner alternatives must be prioritized. Critics say the latest procurement moves in the opposite direction.
Introducing 300 diesel buses into the space of Accra, where we know transport emissions are high, I think it's kind of, it feels like a lost opportunity. And I don't think that is the angle that we need to go.
Country lead for Clean Air Fund, Desmond Appiah, argues that government's action must align with its own climate sustainability policies and calls for a mandatory quota of climate-smart vehicles in all government automobile procurement. His organization is now demanding that at least 20% of all vehicles purchased by government over the next 3 years be electric.
After 2030, we want to get to maybe 35% or 40% over time. Then, of course, every procurement officer knows this is government's goal, and then we'll be moving towards that. But without being firm, we just seem to have made a broad, general commitment without the specifics.
The segment with updates from the forex and commodities markets. I am Minu Afo.
The Sports News segment is brought to you by Sasso Insecticide Spray and Quad.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News360. My name is Bill Lishen. To our first story, the African Athletics Championship is expected to start on May 12th to May 17th, and Team Ghana have stepped up preparations for the competition. 30 athletes are expected to represent Team Ghana and battle with some of the best on the continent for laurels in the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. Now, my colleague Andrew Sefabanfo watched the training session today and put together this report.
It's a rain-soaked night here in Accra, but that did not deter athletes from training as we gear up for the 24th edition of the African Athletics Championship, scheduled to take place in Ghana from May 12. Now, Ghana's 4x100-meter team, days after punching their tickets to the World Athletics Championship 2027 in Botswana, they have already started stretching out their limbs here at the University of Ghana training pitch, led by their captain, Joseph Paulamwa. There's also Edwin Gadai in there. There's Ibrahim Husseini, who missed out on Ghana's victory in Botswana due to issues with his flight. There's also Benjamin Azamati and Ghana's national record holder over 100 meters, Abdul Saminu, also in there. Now, remember that a number of big names are expected to light up the University of Ghana Stadium, including Letsile Tebogo, 200-meter Olympic champion, and then also Africa's fastest man over 100 meters, Ferdinand Omanyala. So there you have it. 30 athletes will be competing for Team Ghana in an enthralling 6-day event scheduled to take place, like I mentioned earlier, at the University of Ghana Stadium. Andrew Sefabanfo for 3 Sports from the University of Ghana Stadium.
Now, in a bold demonstration of corporate patriotism and strategic nation building, Stanbic Bank has unveiled a landmark commitment of 3 million Ghana cedis to propel the Black Stars on their ambitious journey towards the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The high-profile pledge was formally presented to the World Cup 2026 fundraising committee during a ceremonial engagement at the newly inaugurated Ministry of Finance on Thursday, underscoring a growing alliance between the private sector and national sporting aspirations. Let's now hear from Deputy Finance Minister Thomas Nyako Ampem, who is pleased with the support.
To support the Black Stars' participation in the 2026 World Cup campaign, we have received 250,000 Ghana cedis from Omnibisic Bank, and we have also received an amount of $500,000 from Newmont Ghana, and we just received 3 million Ghana cedis from Stanbic Bank. So we are grateful that you have responded. As we said, every Thursday we'll be here to receive donations, and we already have signals that a number of other banks are also coming and some other institutions. And so on behalf of the committee, we want to thank you sincerely for responding to the national call.
Some more stories. The Black Stars received a huge financial injection ahead of that 2026 World Cup from Goldfields Ghana as well. Now, together with 2 other national teams and the Ghana Women's League, the contract, which is worth $5 million, is valid for 2 years. There's more in the following report.
On Friday, Goldfields Ghana Limited announced a sponsorship agreement worth $5 million over a 2-year period with the Ghana Football Association, becoming an official partner of the GFA. The strategic partnership reinforces its long-standing commitment to football development in the country. The sponsorship is expected to cater for the Black Stars, the Black Queens, Black Challenge, as well as the Ghana Women Football League. Speaking at the event, GFA President Keto Kweko expressed his gratitude while stating the aspirations of the Black Stars at the 2026 World Cup.
As a leader of the football family, and how grateful we are as a football family to Goldfields Ghana for coming on board as our official partners. Very soon, our Black Stars will be coming out of the tunnel to represent our country during the Mondial in the US and in Canada and in Mexico. These resources will help us to adequately prepare the team, and we are very, very positive about the team putting up one of the best performances ever in the history of the Ghanaian game.
Meanwhile, Managing Director of Goldfields Ghana, Elliot Chum, highlighted a lack of support for the Women's League in Ghana as one of the reasons for embarking on this journey.
I think Goldfields has had a tradition of supporting sports development in this country. And we've done this for the past 20 years where we've invested almost $8 million in people, in teams, and infrastructure. We are giving some support to the National Women's League, which we think has been deprived of funding for a very long time. And they have demonstrated over time that if we can support the National Women's League, we will be able to do wonderful things in women football across the globe.
The landmark partnership represents one of the most significant corporate investments into Ghana football in recent years and is expected to strengthen the country's football ecosystem.
And that's it for the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Bill Ishen.
another full album from him later this year as he shifts focus from singles to larger projects. The award-winning singer disclosed that he has been receiving several partnership requests from major record labels outside Ghana, many of whom are interested in album projects. According to him, even his latest EP, Sweet Boy, attracted strong interest from major music platforms competing for ownership of the project's master rights. He also noted that he feels ready to deliver 2 major projects within a year, an indication that fans can expect an active and exciting phase in his music career. And on to some more stories. Excitement is building ahead of the 27th edition of the Telecel Ghana Music Awards, set to take place at the Grand Arena on Saturday, May 9, 2026. One of the biggest conversations ahead of the ceremony remains the fiercely contested Artist of the Year category. Among the contenders, Black Sharif is chasing his second Artist of the Year crown after winning the award in 2023. Dancehall star Stonebwoy and rap icon Sarkodie are also aiming for historic third wins, having previously won the top award twice. Stonebwoy claimed the title in 2015 and 2024, while Sarkodie won it in 2010 and 2012. Gospel singer Diana Hamilton is equally in the race after previously winning the coveted award in 2021. Meanwhile, rapper Medical and singer Wendy Shea are both seeking their maiden Artist of the Year victories. With each nominee entering the competition with strong credentials, fans and industry stakeholders remain divided over who deserves the crown. As anticipation continues to rise ahead of the awards night, all eyes will be on the Grand Arena to see which artist eventually emerges as the biggest winner of the 27th TGMA. Now, before we go, we'd like to remind you that because of the live broadcast tomorrow of the Telecel Ghana Music Awards, the PM Extra live eviction show will be happening right after the bulletin. That is 8 p.m. sharp. So please do make sure you stay tuned for that. That's it for the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you very much, Noella. Let's now bring you some international news updates. And South African opposition leader Julius Malema has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to resign after the Constitutional Court ruled that Parliament had violated the Constitution by blocking moves to impeach him in 2022. The judgment follows a legal challenge by Malema's Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, and others, and would result in fresh impeachment proceedings. Ramaphosa's office said he respects the judgment. In 2022, an independent panel said Ramaphosa may have a case to answer after burglars stole some $580,000 in cash hidden in a sofa from his rural home. The theft led to allegations that he had not accounted for where the cash had come from. The president denied any wrongdoing.
And that's it for this evening's edition of News 360. Thank you for watching. I am Martin Asiedu Date.
There's more news when you log on to 3news.com. I'm Bernice Abubeidu Lansa. Have a good evening.